In August of 2022, large-scale floods hit the capital of Seoul, South Korea, primarily in the Gangnam district. It was preceded by the highest rainfall in 80 years and resulted in civilian losses and significant infrastructural damage. Many residents of a lower socioeconomic status were disproportionately impacted, especially those living in banjias, which are underground and semi-subterranean homes that exist throughout South Korea. The banjias have become a symbol of rampant inequality in one of the world's richest cities. They not only represent a state of poverty, but also the substantial social divide in South Korea. The emergence of banjias can be traced back to the 1970s when the South Korean government required all low-rise apartments to have basement bunkers for protection against potential attacks from North Korea. Initially, these spaces were illegal to rent out, but the housing crisis in the 1980s led to their legalization for residential purposes. Banjias are a representation of the inequality in Seoul, with higher social status associated with living in higher floors of apartment buildings. Over 60% of South Korea's banjias exist entirely in Seoul, highlighting the need for housing in urban areas. These homes are an affordable option for many low-income families in South Korea. However, their number is declining due to an urban redevelopment and the government vowing for citizens to move out of these living conditions. It became necessary to review the country's disaster management system as extreme weather conditions are becoming increasingly common due to the climate crisis. The city announced it will spend more than $1 billion to build massive underground holding tanks to prevent flooding and prohibit people from living in basement apartments.
Epithelia. Tissues consisting of sheets of similar cells bound closely together. There exists a vital force inside the biological organism that is irreducible to matter because it is a free and undetermined agency. We are interested in the formal qualities and functions of epithelia and see it as a descriptor for the project. Junctions at cells allow connections between neighboring cells and structural support. Epithelial cells are the basic units of facilitating connectivity and movement between organ surfaces. Location determines function, while they primarily modulate connection and traffic flow between tissues in the body. A creative, non-quite human force capable of producing the new buzzes within the history of the term nature. This vital materiality congeals into bodies that seek to persevere or prolong their run. The robotic arm is a non-human actor in the painterly urbanism material process. Informed by toolpaths dictated by site data line work, the robotic arm utilizes a palette knife toolhead that directly paints onto the canvas. This process includes a melding of agencies given to the material, robot, and human hand, wherein they work together to produce one painting with a perfected painterly recipe. The process of collaboration and contestation between bodies is not random or unstructured, but conforms to the strange logic of vortices, spirals, and eddies recurring at all scales and locations. It became iterative through a back-and-forth play between physical and digital, human and non-human, utilizing AI such as Midjourney and involving a robotic arm. The aesthetic results of the fluid paint meandering into paths and arteries, creating units of cells, directly informed our bridge design through a painterly urban landscape approach.
Epithelia connotes bridging. The existing Hangang Bridge passes over Nodalsom Island and serves as an artery across the river, connecting the north and south sides of the Han River, and guiding traffic flow that is capillary-like, promoting movement, absorption, and adaptability. Preservance of materiality and design is necessitated in the context of today's climate crisis, positing but one isomorphic process, that of flood and fire, of plethora and exhaustion, of vertical growth and sudden fall, of accumulation and drought, in which history rises and descends as if on the high seas under the movement of the hurricane. Our bridge proposal engages the existing context of Nodal Island, the waterfront, and Seoul's population by providing an interstitial, occupiable space for housing directly on the bridge that can improve the quality of living that juxtaposes life in the banjias.
Epithelia serves as a bridge design that exemplifies the inverse of banjiha housing. Instead of semi-subterranean living, the bridge flips the model by providing housing that is elevated onto the river, promoting connectivity and flow of traffic. The housing program itself forms a connective tissue between the north and south banks of the Han River, creating striations and extensions of the existing Hangang Bridge. Through Epithelia, a unique sustainable housing option arises that has the potential to improve the city's well-being after facing the consequences of climate change-induced natural disasters. The design will work with the flooding and adapt to changing tide levels, promoting flood resilience and engagement across the river through equitable housing.